Greetings to you all from Lutheran Partners in Global Ministry. Thank you for joining us here today as we look at LPGM 101 with a specific look at our programs in Tanzania. We're really grateful for you to be here on our third webinar of this four-part series. And I just want to let you know, if you haven't seen the other ones, you can view those on our website, lutheranpartners.org, or on our YouTube channel. And it's just really great to have you here.
I agree. We hope you learned something new today about Lutheran Partners in Global Ministry to carry on with our partnership together with a better understanding of how we are helping students at the margins, especially in Tanzania.
And these webinars are open to anyone, so thank you for sharing with a colleague, your church group, or friends who may be interested in what LPGM is doing in the world.
Before we share a brief overview of LPGM's mission and vision, we're going to take a minute just to introduce our staff. We are all in our office today in Edina, Minnesota, which is a suburb of Minneapolis. My name is Bethany Crapella. I am the development director here at LPGM, working with donors and marketing and outreach and a little of everything with a four-person staff. That's part of the fun, is we all get to do a little of everything. And I am the newest member of our team. I just joined LPGM in November of 2020.
Karibu, I am Naomi Sterick. I was a charter board member of Lutheran Partners in Global Ministry back when it was created in 1995, and I joined the staff in September of 2009 as the managing director.
My name is Mary Peterson, and I am the program director, and I also coordinate travel when we have the opportunity to go visit our partners. And I started at LPGM in 2012.
And I'm Dan Ruth. I am the executive director here at Lutheran Partners in Global Ministry when I joined in 2017. And before we really jump into the particulars of our program and partnerships in Tanzania, I just wanted to give you a very brief overview of who Lutheran Partners in Global Ministry is and what our mission and vision, globally speaking, is all about. So our vision is that LPGM envisions a world where relationships transform boundaries and where all people have the resources and opportunities they need to thrive. Our vision is how we hope the world looks when we have accomplished all of our work together. And I really love that this kind of comes in two parts. The second part is that where all people have the resources and opportunities they need to thrive. That is something that we believe deeply is at the heart of our Lutheran faith, that all people around the world are created and loved by God, and that they deserve to have the resources and the opportunities they need to not just reach a basic level of life, but to thrive in their life. And the first part of that vision is that we are all in this together, that it is deeply bound up in relationships, and that it is the boundaries that are created by the world that separate us from each other, that those boundaries are transformed through relationships. And so everything that we do at LPGM is based in those relationships. And then our mission is how we accomplish, how we try to get to our vision of all of the ways that we can do that. And LPGM provides access to quality education for people at the margins, especially women and girls. We work together with global partners to listen, respond, and bear witness to local needs and priorities. So again, this sort of two-part mission statement of how we try to approach our vision is that we believe that education is one of the most powerful ways to get people out of long-term poverty, and that the people who most have had the least access to quality education, historically speaking, around the world are women and girls. And so those people, we also support education for boys and men, but that we recognize that it is women and girls who need the most access to to quality education. And then secondly, and I think again, this is at the heart of who we are, is that we listen, we respond, and we bear witness to local needs and priorities with our global partners. It always comes back to listening. We recognize that we here sitting in Minnesota in the United States don't know all the local languages or the particular context, and so we're always working with local partners around the world who are part of that. And we are really happy to have one of those partners here with us today. So that is a very brief overview. We currently have partnerships in 4 countries around the world. India, which we touched on last week in our LPGM 101, the Central African Republic, Guatemala, and today we are talking about Tanzania. And just to show you a little bit of where in particular we work in Tanzania, we work outside of Arusha in the northern part of Tanzania, and you'll get to hear a little bit more about that as we go along. So I am going to stop sharing my screen now, and I will turn it over to Mary.
Okay. So I am excited to be able to introduce and welcome 2 of my special friends in partnership with LPGM. Today we have Juliet Cutler, who is a writer, an educator, and a designer of exhibits for museums, parks, and cultural centers throughout the world. Her teaching career began in Tanzania in 1999, and which has inspired her award-winning book, which I have a copy of here, Among the Maasai. And since that time, she has been an activist for girls' education worldwide. And Julie is joining us today from outside of Atlanta, Georgia. And Salome Lally. She is a teacher of chemistry, biology, and computer science, or computer studies by degree. And currently she serves as the program coordinator of Mwangaza Education for Partnership. And she is coming to us from Arusha, Tanzania. Welcome, Julie and Salome.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
So I'm going to begin by sharing my screen here. Okay. Thanks everyone for joining us today to learn a little bit more about LPGM's partnership with Tanzanian leaders to foster safety and education, especially for girls. I'd like to start today by asking you to think a little bit about the impact of education on your life, or perhaps on the lives of your children. And also to think a little bit about the importance of safe and supportive people and environments to your educational success. I would venture to guess that most of us on the call today have had relatively easy access to a system of free public education. In Western countries like the United States, education is largely an assumed right. However, that's not the case for many children around the world, and that includes many children in Tanzania. And it's especially difficult for girls, not only to access education, but also to successfully complete school. Poverty, gender-based violence, early forced marriages, and cultural norms all keep girls out of school worldwide, but also in Tanzania. At a very basic level, many girls are denied access to education, either explicitly, perhaps by parents who won't allow them to attend or who can't afford to send them to school in places where free public education isn't available, or through circumstances that don't support their success. For example, a girl who doesn't feel safe in school is not likely to attend school. Yet we know that education is among the most effective interventions for poverty alleviation, and this is particularly true for girls. Education has the power to lift not only individual women and girls out of poverty, but their whole families and communities. And I think this is one of the reasons that LPGM has focused its support on improving girls' education worldwide in places like Guatemala and India and Tanzania, because education empowers and uplifts. So I invite you to imagine for a moment a world where all women and girls have access to quality education, where they feel safe and supported both inside and outside of school. This is a world where poverty begins to recede into the background. So today, you'll learn a little bit about Tanzania, about its education system, and about LPGM's partners there. You'll hear directly from Salome, who I'm really excited is here with us today. And you'll hear some stories from the students who are benefiting from this work in Tanzania. So first, a little bit about Tanzania. I'll repeat a bit of what Dan said, but Tanzania is on the eastern coast of Africa. It's sub-Sahara. There are about 56 million people in Tanzania. And to give you an idea of its landmass, it's about the size of Minnesota, Wisconsin, Iowa, and Illinois and Missouri for all you Midwesterners on the call today. Dan pointed out Arusha, which is just south of the Kenyan border, where it says Kilimanjaro there is Arusha. And that's where Salome is calling us today from. That's where Mwangaza, one of LPGM's partners, is based, though their work is throughout the country. You'll also hear today about some safe houses that are happening in Tanzania. Those are largely in the Arusha region, which is the area that surrounds the town of Arusha in the northern part of Tanzania. Swahili is the language most commonly spoken, and as you hear from some of the students in some video greetings later, you'll get to hear a bit of Swahili, though subtitled in English for you. In addition to Swahili, most people in Tanzania also speak a home cultural language. There are more than 130 cultural groups in Tanzania, so most Tanzanians will speak both Swahili and then their home language. In addition, for anyone who's gone to secondary school, they'll also speak English. And that's largely a legacy of colonialism. In the 1960s, Tanganyika gained independence from Britain, and the secondary schools in Tanzania are still conducted in English, which is a legacy of that history. Some of you on the call may have had the privilege of visiting Tanzania. If not, you may have heard about some of the extraordinary natural resources in Tanzania, places like the Serengeti and Ngorongoro Conservation Area. Kilimanjaro, the largest peak on the continent, is in Tanzania. There are 22 national parks and 7 World Heritage Sites in the country. So while Tanzania is a place of abundant natural resources, it does have one of the highest rates of extreme poverty in the world. 49% of the population is living on less than $2 US per day. To put that in perspective, that's less than $730 per year. So a bit about the education system. About 69% of children complete elementary school in Tanzania, and that's up through 7th grade there. And that rate of completion is actually pretty high for sub-Sahara Africa. And the reason for that is the first president of an independent Tanzania, his name was Julius Nyerere. One of his key policies was universal primary education for all. And that legacy continues today. In the 1960s and 70s, many primary schools were built throughout the country, and most Tanzanians have easy access to a system of free public education up through grade 7. That picture begins to shift a little bit as we start to talk about secondary school. Less than 30% of children go on to secondary school. And the reason for this is that while Tanzania has made great strides in the last decades, still, secondary schools are often inaccessible to many children. And so that leaves parents with the option of needing to pay school fees to send a child to a private secondary school. And if you think back to that statistic I just mentioned of most Tanzanians living on $730 a year, and you match that up against private school fees, which are usually about $1,000 to $1,200 US a year, you can see why it becomes out of reach for many families to send their children to secondary school. And only 25%, or 1 in 4 of that 30% that go on, are girls. Now, there are many reasons why only 1 in 4 girls go to secondary school. This is a traditional Maasai boma, and you'll notice a young girl out front doing some washing up. So for many Tanzanian girls, they have responsibilities at home. They care for younger siblings, they do cooking and cleaning. They're often required to haul water over several miles from the nearest source. And some are cultivating crops as well. So while all these tasks are important to the survival of their families, it also makes regularly attending school challenging. And so that's why by secondary school, many girls are not continuing forward. So now that we've understood some of the challenges that children face related to accessing education, I want to turn to the hopeful work that LPGM's partners are doing in Tanzania to address some of these issues. So a bit about the SAFE initiative and how it grew up. Sort of starts, I guess, with my connection to Tanzania. I was a volunteer teacher in Tanzania with my spouse, Mark, in 1999 and 2000. We taught at 2 secondary schools in Monduli, which is not too far from Arusha. And during that time, we began to learn a lot about the culture there and the needs. In line with LPGM's mission, we listened and sought to respond and bear witness to what we saw. In 2017, I happened to be going to Tanzania and learned that Julie Rogness, who's the former executive director of LPGM, and Mary Peterson, who you heard from earlier today on the call, were going to be in the Central African Republic. And I invited them to come over to Tanzania and meet some friends and talk about possibilities. And the man pictured here is John Kavishe. He's a colleague of Salome's at Mwangaza, one of LPGM's partners. And so that was 2017 and the beginning of the SAFE initiative in Tanzania. The SAFE initiative consists of 3 pillars, if you will, 3 points of a triangle. One of them is safe schools, and Salome is going to talk in detail about that work, helping to create safer environments for kids at school. The Safe Families and Communities is really centered around a mother-daughter program that Salome will also talk about. And then the Safe House is a program that provides immediate assistance to girls who are at imminent risk. And we'll talk some more about all those programs as we move through the presentation here. So this is where I'm going to turn it over to Salome to talk a bit about the work that Mwangaza is doing.
Okay, thank you, Jul. Okay, thank you, everyone. Now I'm going to share with you the 2 parts of our presentation, which is Safe Initiative Program and the Binti Mama Program. In 2018, Mwangaza, in partnership with LPGM, started this program. The goal of Safe Initiative Program is to create safe, peaceful learning and teaching environment. Topics shared during Safe School training includes mindset, and in this topic, we are helping people, that is teachers and non-teaching staff, to unlock their potentials, plus students. Another topic is school culture. Under this topic, we help the school to review the cultural practices and the policies to be supportive to girls. Another topic we shared with teachers is child protection. And the child protection will help adults to be conscious of how their daily practices might affect girls' safety. So under this presentation or training, we help teachers and non-teaching staff to develop child protection policy or safeguarding policy. Another topic we shared with teachers is discipline and alternative punishment. And we help adults to be critically conscious about how to use positive ways on disciplining students. in Tanzanian culture, most of the teachers use canes, that is, they use physical punishment. So under this topic, we help teachers to use other ways or alternative ways of disciplining students. Another topic we shared with others is conflict transformation. And we help them, or we empower them to address conflict in using non-violent communication, or to solve conflict without making problems with others. Now, my second slide is talking about the Safe Initiative program and the parts of this program. The first part is to train all adults at school, that is teaching and non-teaching staff. So we conducted training for 5 days for teachers and all staff, that is non-teaching staff like school matron, guards, cooks, etc. The second part of Safe Initiative program is training of students in the Peace Club. After training of adults, then we train students. We help students to develop what we call Peace Club, a club whereby they get some training on how to create safe learning environment. The third part of this Safe School Initiative is parent training. We also invite parents and train them for 3 days, things like child protection and the basic counseling skills. Number 4 is inter-school visits to share and learn with other students. Students had an opportunity to share with other schools what they learned and to exchange ideas on how to create safe learning and teaching environment. Also, I have some videos of Safe Initiative impact. So I think you can view this video later after this presentation. Now, for Safe School Initiative, we work with parents, teachers, and administrators to encourage positive classroom management, teaching, and learning attitudes, and supportive decisions that encourage a constructive impact on student learning. In this program, we have 3 schools. Number 1 is Kipok Girls Secondary School, and we started with them in 2018. The school has 800 girls and 40 adults. The second school is Ole Sokoine Secondary School, and we started with them in 2021. The school has 300 girls and 30 adults. Number 3, Manyara Secondary School, and we started January 2022. The school has 700 girls and 55 adults. Majority of the girls in the schools come from Maasai community. And if that is the case, most of these girls face the same challenges. That is, most of the Maasai community, they don't want girls to participate in school. Another thing is most of the girls in school we work have the following challenges. They are danger of early marriage. They can be exploited by adults. They can become sources of income for the family. Bullying and teasing in some schools make them fail to fulfill their dreams. And in some tribes, for example, Maasai, most of the many girls are passive when it comes to speaking about their feelings and the problems. Now we have a picture here of a Binti Mama training at Ole Sokoine Secondary School. We have some quotes from some participants. Quotes from Judith Frankie, for a Form 3 students at Kipok Girls. She says, "Peace Club has helped me to improve my confidence. I can now seek support from my teachers whenever I have academic or emotional struggles." Another quote is from a Peace Club coordinator at Kipok Girls Secondary School. When students come to school with excitement and enthusiasm, as opposed to fear or nervousness, it can impact the attendance, motivation, and the learning outcomes. Another quote is from head of school at Olosokoine Secondary School. After receiving the Safe School program, use of hard power in our school has been replaced by empathetic and supportive approach to students' discipline. There is a picture here with Namnyaki Edward, one of the parents at Olosokoine Secondary School, telling how she will be using principles of parenting learned during the training to help her children. So during parent training, we help parents to use alternative ways of discipline to solve some children problems. So when we discuss with teachers to stop using canes, we need also to discuss with parents that now we are moving to another way, soft power instead of hard power. So Mwangaza seems that is also critical to discuss with with parents the alternative way of discipline children or students. I'm going now to talk about the Binti Mama or mother-daughter training. Objective of Binti Mama training is to empower women and girls to become critically conscious about their health and how their daily practices affect others. Now, during Binti Mama training, we conduct a 5-day training to girls and the women at school under the following topics: women's health. Under women's health, we teach them the nutrition and the problems associated with women and hygiene. Another topic is effective communication. So we shared with the girls and the women how to effectively communicate in order to avoid the conflict with others. Gender violence and discrimination. We shared with them the effect of gender violence and how to help when someone faces the gender violence or domestic violence. Another thing we shared with them is goal setting. In goal setting, we teach in a topic known as life skills, whereby goal setting for girls and women is critical. Another topic is basic entrepreneurship skills. So we shared with the girls and teachers and the women's basic entrepreneurship skills, how to develop a small business, because we know that some of the girls, when they finish schools, they will perform some basic entrepreneurship skills. Now, this is a picture of girls at Kipok Girls Secondary School, celebrating International Day of the Girl Child in October 11, 2021. So we visited the school and discussed issues related to girls and women. So they were very happy. Now, this is a picture of Kipok Girls parents training. So we conducted parents training at Kipok Girls, which involves 25 parents, women, and then 25 men. So the total were 50 women. Thank you.
Thank you, Salome. I'm going to go back to sharing my screen now to talk a little bit about the Safe House.
Sure.
One moment here. Okay. So a little bit about the Safe House, which is another component of the program that's run by a couple of other partners in partnership with Mwangaza as well. So the Safe House is providing refuge and support for girls, for at-risk girls. And many girls in Tanzania are at risk. These are girls who are at particularly high risk. So the brainchild for the Safe House was Dr. Msinjili. He's the man pictured at right here. And he was the headmaster at one of the schools that Mark and I taught at when we were volunteering there. And one of the things that he observed was that girls who were at particularly high risk would go home for school breaks and never return. So both of the schools we taught at in Monduli were residential schools, boarding schools. And so some of these girls who faced early forced marriages and other challenges at home would leave for school break and not come back. So he established the first Safe House in Monduli around 2000. As a place that girls who felt that they weren't safe at home on breaks could be during school breaks or even between perhaps secondary school and starting a technical program or a college or university degree. In 2017, in partnership with LPGM, a second Safe House was opened at Kipok Secondary School, which is also the school that Mwangaza is doing the Safe Schools and Parent Training programs that Salome talked about. So these young women pictured here are benefiting from that program at Kipok. Another organization that LPGM has been working with in the last year and a half or so is Iripoto for Girls and Women. So they have an additional Safe House, and these are some of the girls who are in that program. And I'm gonna introduce you first to Joyce. So she's in her school uniform here with a tie on, which is something that is common school uniform in Tanzania. And she'll tell you her story and how she's benefiting from the work Iripoto is doing. She does speak quite softly, and it is in Swahili, so you'll want to pay close attention to those subtitles.
Kwa majina naitwa Joyce. Mimi ni msichana wa shirika la Iripoto. Mimi nasoma kidato cha kwanza. Sasa hivi Kwa majina naitwa Joyce. Mimi ni msichana wa shirika la Iripoto. Mimi nasoma kidato cha kwanza. Sasa hivi ningetakiwa niwe kidato cha pili. Changamoto niliyopata wazazi wangu waliniwezesha nikiwa darasa la 6. Sasa likizo wa corona, wazazi wangu walinifungia chumbani. Sasa nikapata ujauzito. Niliposikia shirika la Iripoto, ilibidi nitoroke ili nisaidiwe. Nilikuja huku nikiwa na miezi 8. Alinisaidia hadi nikajifungua. Nilipojifungua aliniweka nisome cherehani. Nikakaa hadi mtoto akakua. Kwa shirika la Iripoto walinisaidia kunishauri ili nikubali kuanza shule. Nilikubali kuanza shule, lakini nilisema kwamba sitaweza. Walinishauri akaniambia utaweza, hamna mtu ambaye hawezi. Nilikubali kuanza shule. Changamoto niliyoipatia, nilikuwa msichana mdogo. Nilikuwa na miaka 15. Siwezi kumlea mtoto. Walinisaidia kumlea mtoto, maana nilikuwa siwezi kujitunza mwenyewe. Sasa hivi najisikia vizuri. Nasema kwamba nami nitaweza, naweza kusoma. Mimi naweza kufikia ndoto yangu. Kwa sasa nashukuru shirika la Iripoto kwa kunisaidia niweze kujitambua kwamba na mimi naweza. Kwa sasa hivi nasaidiwa mimi na mtoto wangu na ndoto ya kuwa engineer.
So in addition to Joyce, these are some of the other girls who are at the Iripoto Safe House. You can see a portion of the building is under construction right now to allow for more room to help more girls. Iripoto is also going into schools to counsel girls and the challenges that they face. And as Joyce mentioned, they're providing technical training in sewing and equipment to young women so that they can start their own businesses as tailors. Much clothing in Tanzania is made by tailors, and so there's a need for that. And so for those girls who maybe don't qualify due to exam results for secondary school or college programs, they could do technical programs like this one. And then in addition, they're helping girls like Linda, who is a university student, and she'll tell you her story.
Kwa majina naitwa Linda. Mimi ni binti, niko chini ya shirika la educator for Girls and Women. Ni mwanafunzi, niko chuo cha KCMC, Moshi Kilimanjaro. Nasoma kozi ya udaktari, niliploma miaka 3. Nina changamoto nyingi ambazo nilikuta kwenye maisha yangu, hasa nikiwa sekondari. Nilipokuwa kidato cha 3, nilipewa taarifa na wazazi wangu watu wawili kwamba kuna mtu amekuja kunichumbia nyumbani. Nilizipokea taarifa hizo nikiwa shule bado, na nilijaribu kueleza kwamba bado nahitajika niendelee kusoma, na bado ndio kwanza niko kidato cha 3. Nikimaliza kidato cha 4 nitatakiwa pia niendelee na masomo. Lakini walisema wewe endelea, alafu utamaliza shule, sisi tutajua cha kufanya. Baada ya kumaliza kidato cha 4, niliambiwa kaa tayari tuanze kupokea mahari sasa. Nilijaribu kueleza wazazi kwamba nimemaliza mtihani na nina imani kwamba nitafaulu na nitaweza kuendelea mbele, lakini hakuna mzazi ambaye alijaribu kuelewa ninachosema. Kwa kuwa sikuwa na kauli yoyote ambayo itamzidi ya mzazi, walianza kupokea mahari yangu. Mahari ililiwa, walileta ng'ombe. Kijana ambaye alikuwa anatakiwa nioe mimi alikuwa na mke tayari. Mimi nilikuwa naenda kuwa mke wa pili. Lakini nilikaa hivyo, walileta mahari tayari, ikafika mahali sasa mimi nichukuliwe. Kabla ya hapo matokeo yalitoka na nimefaulu kweli, nilipata division 1 na nilichagua kwenda chuo moja kwa moja, sikuchagua kwenda kidato cha 5. Hivyo walileta mahali na ndio hivyo ikafika mahali ya mimi kuchukuliwa. Kijana yule alisema kwamba hataweza kunichukua mimi kabla sijakeketwa. Jambo hilo liliendelea pia kuniumiza mimi, kwamba tayari nimepata elimu kuanzia nikiwa shule ya msingi na hata sekondari, kujua athari ambazo mtoto wa kike anapata baada ya kutahiriwa. Ilifika mahali sasa naona kabisa kwamba inafika siku ya mimi kukeketwa. Niliwasiliana na marafiki zangu wa karibu, nikawaeleza hili swala. Kuna marafiki yangu mmoja alinipa msaada, akanishauri pia kwamba usikubali kukeketwa, ni heri utoroke hapo nyumbani ukipata mbinu au njia ya kutoroka. Ilikuwa siku moja mchana, wazazi hawapo, hakuna mtu yoyote, niliachwa mimi nyumbani peke yangu nikiwa nachota maji. Nilitumia hiyo mbinu, nikatoroka, nikaenda kwa rafiki yangu ambaye aliniambia nitoroke. Baada ya kutoroka hivyo, nikakaa hapo kwa siku 2, nilianza kusikia kwamba natafutwa. Niliposikia ile shirika la Educator for Girls and Women lipo, ndio nikaomba jinsi ya kuwasiliana nao. Baada ya hapo, namshukuru Mungu, nikawapata, wakaja wakanichukua. Baada ya kunichukua, nilikaa chini ya uangalizi wao, na matokeo yalitoka selection ya kwamba nimefaulia kwenda chuo. Namshukuru Mungu alinisaidia, nikaanza masomo. Kwa sasa niko chini ya shirika la Educator for Girls and Women, wananisaidia kuendelea na masomo yangu, na ndoto yangu ndio ilikuwa hiyo ya kuwa daktari, na ninamshukuru Mungu kwa kwamba nimeanza sasa process za kuelekea kwenye ndoto yangu kamili. Ninapenda kutoa shukrani zangu za dhati kwa ajili ya hili shirika. Wananihudumia kwa mahitaji yangu binafsi na kwa mahitaji yangu pia ya shule.
So you can see the challenges for girls like Joyce and Linda are very significant, and the ways in which the Safe House provides support to these young women who have big dreams to go on to be engineers and doctors is really important work that's happening. So I'll close with a Swahili phrase. You'll learn a bit of Swahili today, bega kwa bega, which translates as shoulder to shoulder. How might we stand shoulder to shoulder with partners in Tanzania? I would suggest that through LPGM's partnerships, schools and communities across Tanzania are improving safety for all children, and dozens of young women have access to safe housing and education through the Safe House. So thank you for being here today, for walking shoulder to shoulder with partners in Tanzania. And at this point, I will invite any questions we may have.
Thank you, Julie and Salome. This is really amazing and wonderful to hear from both of you. I am going to allow people to unmute yourself and even turn on your video if you so choose. No pressure. And if you have a question, you can unmute yourself or type it in the chat. We had a question from Deb. What is the cost to attend the schools, and how is that typically paid?
So it varies. Scholarships for secondary schools can be around $1,000 to $1,200 US. I think sponsorships for college and universities can be more in the $2,200 to $2,400 range. Some of these young women qualify, for example, Linda, the circumstances that she comes from, and she scored Division I, which is something that's an incredible achievement. It's like a top performer in Tanzania. And so she qualified to go to a public university. So the costs for that are largely covered except for whatever incidental needs she might have. But Salome, do you have some additional input on the scholarship costs?
Yeah, it depends on the school. Some schools are expensive compared to others, but it ranges between, in some schools, $800, especially Lutheran secondary schools, to $1,000.
Mm-hmm.
Julie or Salome, could you explain the school, Form 1, Form 2, Form 3, for how that works in comparison to US education?
After primary school, 7 years of primary school, then they join secondary school. So they join Form 1. So Form 1 is post-secondary school. Form 1, first year, Form 2, second year, Form 3, third year, and Form 4, fourth year. After Form 4, they join high school for 2 years. Then they go for university or college.
So it's a little different than the US system where you might have middle school and high school, and middle school is 2 years and high school is 4 years. There they have the first 4 years of secondary school, and then they have two additional years after that of secondary school before they go on to another program. The other, I think, significant difference in the systems is that there's a system of national exams in Tanzania. And so students must pass the national exam to a certain level, even at standard 7, which is the end of elementary school, to continue to secondary school. And then they take tests at Form 2, Form 4, and Form 6. And all of those tests just determine whether they can continue and to what level they might continue.
You know, one of the things I was thinking about as you both were presenting, and as we were talking about peace clubs and creating peace in these schools and larger communities, I actually, this is the pastor in me, thinking back to the the Hebrew word for peace that shows up throughout the Bible, that is shalom. And one thing that I absolutely love about the word shalom, as it's translated and as it is used throughout the Bible, is that it doesn't just mean the absence of violence or the absence of war. It is much more holistic than that, that it is the presence of a place and a time where everyone has what they need, that everyone has enough. And so I think that as we talk about even peace in these schools and in these communities, it goes really at the heart of LPGM's vision and mission, where all people have the resources and opportunities they need to thrive. There is another question here about how can you protect students once they're attending college in a different location? Are we able to continue to provide protection for girls who might be at risk of marriage or other violence?
Salome, you want to take that one?
Yeah. In the Peace Club, we teach them how to life skills. One of the life skill is how to resist peer influence, goal setting. So through the training in Peace Club, it helps the girls to stand on their own. And when they are college or university, at least they have age above 18, so they can stand on their own. It's different in secondary school because most of them, they are younger and it's very difficult to stand on their own. Thank you.
Yeah, I think the safe houses too are providing housing to, even Linda, I know, is going back to the safe house when she's on break from university. So there's some continuity there with the safe house as well.
This is Deb. I was just
Deb, I think we're not hearing you.
Yeah, Deb, we heard you for just a second and then you cut out. If you're able to try again, we'll give you just a second. Okay, it sounds like we're not able to quite hear Deb, but thank you. I just, if there are any other questions, feel free to jump in now. Otherwise, I think maybe we will follow up with any additional questions. Feel free to email us at office@lutheranpartners.org with any additional questions that you have. You can call us at 612-823-5058 and reach out. We are taking a small group this September, provided that this pandemic doesn't stop our plans again, but a small sort of exploratory group to Tanzania this September, and then with the idea that we will plan then future travel opportunities for groups as well. So if you or others in your congregation or people in your lives might be interested in traveling to Tanzania and seeing this work firsthand, meeting our partners, please keep an eye on our website, as well as reach out to Mary Peterson, and we will keep you informed about that. Otherwise, Bethany, I will turn it over to you at this point.
Great, thank you, Dan. Okay, and thank you so much, Salome and Julie, for being with us today. It was really educational. I learned a lot, and the need there is just amazing, and the work that you're doing through Mwangaza and Aripoto is so inspiring, and we at LPGM are so proud to be able to be a part of your work, thanks to sponsors and friends and donors. I just want to say a note to everybody here, or an invitation rather, to please make plans to join us next week for the 4th and final webinar in this series of LPGM 101. The topic is going to be focused on our partnership in the highlands of Guatemala through community cloud forest conservation. Our guest presenter will be Dr. Tricia Hall, who is a former LPGM board member, and she also happens to lead our travel groups there. She has a personal relationship with CCFC, so she will be sharing a lot of beautiful pictures, data, videos as well. And we do have 2 travel groups heading to Guatemala this June, so we're excited to have that. Just remember that those sessions are each, they have a unique link, so please register for that specifically. And also I encourage you to think of who you know that might be interested in hearing that webinar, or also any of the ones that we have done. The recordings are all available online, and if you have any trouble finding them, please give us a call. You met the 4 of us who are here. We are the ones who will likely answer the phone because we are the US-based staff. Thanks.
And I just want to say one final thank you to Salome and Julie for joining us this morning. I really do believe that relationships transform boundaries, and that who we are as an organization ties us to one another around the world through our faith, through just the shared ministry and mission that we have together. And I really feel like I am changed by the relationships in really amazing, positive ways, and that is part of who we are as a people and as a body. One of the ways that we need your support for all of you who are listening and joining today is just for your prayers. Prayer is an amazing way to connect with people all around the world, and that it really matters and it changes things. Your prayers make a difference, and your financial support for these very programs are also incredibly important. One of the things we have to give as a largely wealthy country is our financial resources that help support these programs and help support these girls so that they can have the resources and opportunities they need to thrive. So I thank you. I invite you to get more involved, and for your prayers, and just for sharing this with others in your life as well. Blessings to you all, and have a wonderful day.
Thank you.